What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to a trade breakdown live stream here on Blazers Uprise. Today, DeAaron Fox gets traded to the San Antonio Spurs. This is something that would have been surprising about 10 days ago, but in the past week, we heard that DeAaron Fox had a free agent destination in mind. And San Antonio was instantly the first team that jumped to my mind, as, of course, they have Victor Wembanyama, who stars are going to want to play with because he's something the game has never seen before. And he gets his first co-star as the Kings, Bulls, and Spurs collaborate on a three-team trade. This trade brought to you by BetUS. Not the trade. The trade breakdown, the video, the live stream, brought to you by BetUS. We're going to discuss this move. We're going to break it down. We're going to discuss the trade deadline for your Portland Trail Blazers, give a little bit of an update there, talk about any rumors, and then we'll also, discuss whatever you guys want to talk about with this trade deadline, which is already an insane trade deadline. There's still, 4 days until the official trade deadline day, but you already had 3 former All-Stars get traded, right? Luka Doncic, DeAaron Fox, Zach Lavine included in this trade. He's going to the Kings. And I'm going to give my full breakdown of what I think. Eric might join a little bit later. Hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the fireworks because the league is, there's a lot of movement going on right now. And this is the NBA that I know and love with a lot of player movement. The past couple years, it seemed to have died down a little bit. The new CBA seems to have, calmed things down. But it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Luka's a Laker. AD, 4 former All-Stars. I forgot about AD. Luka, AD, DeAaron Fox, Zach Lavine, all already been traded. Let me know what you think of this trade. I have not seen the pick compensation yet for the Kings, so I'll give my live reaction to that. I'm going to go find that right now. I know Zach Collins and Trey Jones are being traded to the Bulls. And then Zach Lavine is going from the Bulls to the Kings. And then DeAaron Fox going from the Kings to the Spurs. Let me just talk about the players while I look up the picks here. This obviously makes the Kings worse, but Zach Lavine has been really good this year. So how much of a downgrade is it? I'm not sure. But overall, you lose De'Aaron Fox, you get Zach Lavine. Maybe Lavine might play a little better off Sabonis. I don't know. But the Kings were not competitive enough to win a series anyway. They kind of peaked out when they made that first round appearance against the Warriors and lost in 7 games. And they've just been trying to get back there since. They're kind of a team that feels like they don't really have much of a direction right now. Sabonis has been great this year. He should have been an all-star. It'll be interesting to see what they try and do after adding Zach Lavine because I assume they got some picks back. If anybody has a link to the particular picks here. All right, here we go. Shams Charania, a full trade. Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin from the Kings. The Kings get Zach Lavine, Sidy Cissoko, 3 first-round picks, a 2025 Charlotte first, which definitely has some protections on it, so it'll roll over to another year. A 2027 San Antonio first and a 2031 Minnesota first. Not sure of the protections on those. 3 second-round picks, 1 in 2025 from Chicago, 1 in 2028, 2 in 2028 from Denver, and their own 2028 second-round pick back. So the Kings get 3 firsts, 3 seconds, and Zach Lavine for De'Aaron Fox. That already looks pretty solid of a return there for them. And then the Bulls, by trading Zach Lavine, get back Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick back from San Antonio. So the Spurs give up 4 firsts for De'Aaron Fox, along with Zach Collins and Trey Jones, so don't even have to give up any of their young talent. They just purely give up 4 first-round picks. And the Bulls for Zach Lavine, who had been playing like an all-star caliber player this year, only get their own pick back, which was top 10 protected, and they could have probably tanked for and kept. On the surface, that looks absolutely brutal for the Chicago Bulls. It looks solid for the Spurs and the Kings. I mean, if you're going to get a player like De'Aaron Fox, you're going to have to give up some draft capital. And the fact that the Spurs didn't have to give up a Devin Vassell piece. Zach Collins has barely played for them this year. They don't really need Trey Jones. Sidy Cissoko doesn't really matter. He's a fringe roster guy. might be cut by the Kings, and then you give up 4 firsts. A couple of those firsts could end up being really good. We'll have to wait and see. But the Spurs get Wemby his co-star, a point guard to pair with him, and then we'll see if they can attract a third star, because you got to think they're going to be able to sign and trade for players. Wemby's on his rookie contract still for the next couple of years. They're going to be able to make more moves beyond this and form a big three. I don't know who that third player is, but I think that's the next chapter for the San Antonio Spurs. The Kings were put in a tough spot with DeAaron Fox eyeing a free agent destination in a couple of off seasons in the summer of 2026. This is about the best they could have done if they want to try and remain competitive for like a 10th seed, which I don't know why they're hellbent on remaining competitive for a play-in spot, but they are. So you get back somebody that can help you and replace a lot of that scoring that you lost with DeAaron Fox in Zach Lavine. And the Kings have been after Lavine for a while. In Zach Lavine's restricted free agency, I believe the Kings gave him an offer sheet, so they tried to sign him. That offer sheet ended up getting matched. So there's always been Zach Lavine to the Kings rumblings, rumors, little tie-ins here and there. So it's not really shocking. And then I actually brought up this kind of trade structure because the Bulls in trading Lavine, they were never going to trade Lavine to San Antonio, but San Antonio had their own first-round pick. I just thought the Bulls would be able to get back another pick on top of that. So chat, who do you think won this trade? We will talk about the Blazers here in a bit. Eric might be here a little bit later, and that's when we can dive in on what's going on there. But yeah, let me know who you think won. I think it makes sense for the Bulls. They need to hit the rebuild button. And there was a rumor that came out about the Warriors. They had talked about getting Lavine and Vucevic and then decided to pass on that, which I think is interesting. The Warriors are going to be a fun team to watch. But as far as the picks go, I'll read off the protections here on the picks that the Spurs ended up trading to the Kings. So the 2025 first-round pick the Spurs traded to the Kings is lottery protected in 2025. And if it falls in that protected range, it is not conveyed, and Charlotte will convey 2 second-round picks. So actually, that pick is going to be in the lottery. That is not a first-round pick. The Kings only got 2 first-round picks back for DeAaron Fox. They got Zach Lavine. They got the 2027 Spurs first, the 2031 Minnesota first, and then 5 second-round picks because that 2025 Charlotte first, lottery protected, turns into 2 second-round picks. So, you know, on the surface, it's one of those things where it looks better. 3 first-round picks, that sounds pretty sweet. Ooh, look at that Charlotte first. It looks good. It's lottery protected. If it was an unprotected pick, the Kings would have hit a home run, but that's why there are pick protections. The 2027 first-round pick from San Antonio, I don't know if they have any protections on that. I assume they don't. And then the 2031 first-round pick from Minnesota was unprotected. Now, San Antonio could technically place protections on that pick, but I'm just going to assume they don't, and maybe there's something out there from someone that says those picks are unprotected. You can let me know in the live chat. Also, we will be live on trade deadline morning, February 6th, so hopefully you can join us for that. I was hoping these fireworks would last until trade deadline day. You know, maybe a Jimmy Butler trade lasts till then. And of course, we'll see what the Blazers do then. But Blaze the Nug says, as a Bulls fan first, who was born in Chicago but had to stop following the team after they refused to tank for half a decade plus, it's a huge relief the Bulls seem to be embracing the tank. Yeah, you would just hope that you would get a little bit better draft capital back there. Because the 2025 first that they owed San Antonio was protected 1-10 in 2025, 1-8 in 2026, and 1-8 in 2027. And then it turned into a second-round pick. So they could have tanked and never had to deal with that, kind of like the Blazers have been doing with the first that they owe Chicago. But it is a good thing that they got it back, and maybe, I guess Lavine just didn't have that much value, even though he's been playing some fantastic basketball this year. So Lavine moves on to Sacramento. Their starting lineup's going to be interesting. They just drafted Devin Carter. But they got Lavine. They got DeRozan. They got Keegan Murray and Sabonis. And then I assume a point guard. would be their fifth starter. I'm not forgetting anyone, right? Yeah, I assume that would be their starting lineup there in Sacramento. All right. I don't know if y'all could hear that. I don't know if y'all could hear that. The Grammys are on, all right? The Grammys are on. My girlfriend's a Beyonce fan. I think Beyonce just won something. Anyway. Jax, I'm going to put you in timeout for that. A little 1 minute timeout for you. I want to see your questions on this trade, though. Big trade in the NBA. Huge trade in the NBA. What's up, Den Third? I'll do a poll. Who's the winner of this trade? Let me know in the chat poll. I'll do the poll. I'll put it up right now. Who won this trade? I mean, is that a fair? Or should we just grade it? We should probably just grade it for all three teams. All right, we'll start with the Spurs. Grade this trade for the Spurs. You better buy your girl Beyonce tickets. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when she's touring. All right, we'll do A, B, C, and then D or F. What did the Spurs give up? I'll run through it again. A 2027 San Antonio first, a 2021 Minnesota first. I assume they're both unprotected, and a 2025 Charlotte first, but it's lottery protected, turns into 2 second-round picks, and then 3 second-round picks on top of that. Zach Collins and Trey Jones. Are the Suns a sneaky good landing spot for Grant Simons and Rob? I mean, how? They can't. They literally cannot trade for all three, unless you mean one of the three. But they'd have to trade Beal to get Grant or Simons. So, not really. Not really. It's a lot of picks the Spurs give up. Yeah, but I mean, it's 2 firsts in 5 seconds because the Charlotte first is going to turn into 2 seconds. Anyway, chat poll says 64%, 65% graded an A for the Spurs, 30% graded a B. I'll grade it an A because they only gave up 2 firsts on top of no young players. Like, I think this is as good as it gets for the Spurs. As good as you could have hoped for. Only having to give up 2 firsts, not having to give up Vassell or a piece like that is definitely a home run for them. All right, we're going to grade this trade for the Kings. We'll do the same grading scale, D or F. I wish I could do 5 poll options for all grades, but there we go. Grade this trade for the Kings. I'll let you know what I think when I end the poll. Jonathan Ever says, I bet Jeremy Grant gets interest from the Bucks, Mavs, and Kings and ends up in Milwaukee. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if you can get the 2031 Milwaukee first, slightly protected, that's a huge home run with, like, Chris Middleton, and then maybe you can use Chris Middleton as an expiring this offseason. DeAndre Ayton will be expiring. You can maybe put those in play. I think that may be the plan for the Blazers. Chris Middleton's been banged up. Like, the Blazers, I don't think would feel obligated to start him like they feel obligated to start Jeremy Grant. But it will be interesting to see the Kings' next move. So let me plug this trade into the trade machine, see what their salary looks like. Because, I mean, I don't think they'll want Jeremy Grant. They got Lavine, they got DeRozan, they got Keegan Murray, they got Sabonis. They need a point guard. They don't really need another wing. They don't really need another wing. At least like a starting wing. They need some depth. They got some solid wings there. Honestly, it'd be terrible. Like, they would be awful defensively, but Anthony Simons now makes more sense for the Kings than Jeremy Grant. But Simons, Lavine, DeRozan is awful defensively. Sabonis is your 5. Might be a bottom 3 defense. You're not going anywhere with that roster. Like, they need a two-way point guard. Damn, Fanspo is down. The trade deadline has broken the trade machine, I guess, because Fanspo is not working. Unless they're just updating for this trade. Not sure. But yeah, I think the Bucks, and I don't think the Mavs are a great fit either. I feel like the Mavs, I don't know how it works salary-wise, but I feel like they may go after Jimmy Butler. But who knows with the Mavs? Who knows what they would value? Like, that could be the dumb team that trades a first-round pick, a good first-round pick for Jeremy Grant. Because they're the dumb team that traded Luka Doncic. But, like, where we sit now, the Kings need a point guard, preferably a two-way point guard, unless they think Devin Carter is so good already that he can be that guy. The Lakers desperately need big men. They probably need 2 big men. I was messing around with the trade machine in, like, trade ideas where the Lakers trade Austin Reeves, Rui, and, like, Gabe Vincent and get back Ayton and Robert Williams, because I don't think Austin Reeves makes much sense there anymore now that you have Luka Doncic and you need defensive help. Like, Reeves is not the best defender. Dalton Connect's not a good defender. Luka, we know his defense is not good. So Reeves could be on the market, and they're going to need some big men depth. And then for the Mavs, I don't really know how it works out with, like, PJ Washington or Gafford. I feel like one of those guys have to go because you have Lively, you have Anthony Davis, right? And then you would have probably, I assume, Gafford. It's not enough minutes for PJ Washington. Or if you keep PJ Washington, maybe it's not enough minutes for Gafford. Like, you kind of got a logjam of big men there. If one of them could slide down to the 3, it'd be fine, but none of them can play the 3. Unless that's the master plan. Don't put it past the Mavs to try Anthony Davis at the small forward position. That's kind of like that's the thing with the Blazers is if there's a lot of movement before the deadline, what certain teams need could change. Now I look to the Lakers even more as a potential Robert Williams III landing spot. And they have their 2031 first. I don't think they trade their 2031 first for Robert Williams, but I could see them trading Austin Reeves to a third team, getting back something from that team, and then that team gives Portland something to send Rob Will to LA. Dallas would not trade Lively. He's their future at the center spot. They got AD to play him with Lively. PJ can play the 3. I don't like PJ at the 3. Defensively, he's solid, but just the perimeter skills aren't there for him to be a 3. I don't like him at a 3. But I guess if you have AD and Lively and you're just going all bigs, it's an experiment. Maybe it works. Garrett just messaged me. I've been very busy, so if we could get Austin Rui in their first round pick, I say deal with the Lakers. For who? They're not trading Austin, Rui, and a first for anyone on our roster. Wheeler was saying, who's Wheeler, Jesse Scott? Who are you talking about? Who's Wheeler? Ted Wheeler. Yeah, Ted Wheeler. And Robert Williams III. I don't think the Lakers would. Why would the Lakers trade Austin Reeves for Ant? You're not really changing anything there. You're trading an offensive player that really struggles on defense for another one. Spin says we actually don't have any trustful sources about the Blazers anymore. I mean, that's the funny part about Eric being right about some things before they happen and like teasing some things before they happen and then being slightly off about a couple of things. And then people saying, you don't know anything, you don't listen to anyone. It's like, who do we have locally that breaks anything or has any sort of rumors? We have nothing. We have nothing. Like, we have no idea. And we have people that will toe the company line. So right now it just feels like we are going to have an active deadline. I'm hoping that Jeremy Grant gets traded. And Robert Williams should get traded. I think Robert Williams will get traded. He's not playing right now, so why wouldn't you trade him? I think they're going to keep Ayton into the offseason at minimum. And then Jeremy Grant is kind of like the 50-50 guy. Because he hasn't contributed much to this winning stretch. And I think this ownership group is going to want to build upon this recent stretch of games the Blazers are on. You can trade Jeremy Grant, you can trade Robert Williams, and it's still basically the same team they've been trotting out there. So that's how you can kind of move a little bit more into the rebuild while still remaining just as competitive and maybe getting closer to a play-in. But here's the thing. Here's why it's going to be impossible for the Blazers to make a play-in. The Kings are the 12th seed right now. They just got DeAaron Fox, right? You got the Mavs at 9, Golden State at 10. Like, it was an awful trade for the Mavs, but with Luka being hurt, they were still above 500 on the season. You get AD. They're still going to be a play-in caliber team at minimum. I don't think the Blazers can pass them. I don't think the Blazers can pass San Antonio now that they got Fox. That's your 9th and 10th seeds. 11th and 12th, you got Golden State and Sacramento. Like, the Blazers could play the best possible basketball they could play the rest of the season. They're not going to win out. I just don't think the play-in is realistic at all and should not be a calculation. But I think the ownership group, Joe Cronin, whoever is pulling the strings, is going to want to have excitement over the rest of the season and keep butts in seats. In this 8-game stretch where they've won 7 of 8 and had a competitive loss to OKC is the perfect excuse to not tank, to push for it. So I don't know, man. It's strange. Jesse Scott said Wheeler is the podcast dude for the Heat. Gotcha. Okay, so I'll read this off. I just want to know who you're talking about. He said Wheeler was saying something about Portland involved in talks with the 3-team trade to bring Simons to Orlando. 3rd team is Brooklyn, possibly Ben Simmons to Portland. I'm thinking he didn't say. Yeah, so Ben Simmons to Portland would just be an expiring contract. I just want to reiterate that for anyone who would say, why would we get Ben Simmons? Like, we'd probably buy him out. Simons to Orlando. Orlando, I assume, would trade salary to Brooklyn. Because if you're Portland, you want back an expiring contract, and the Magic don't really have expiring contracts. That's the problem with the Magic. So in order to take him back, I really wish Fanspo was working, man. Oh, it's back. I was going to say, am I really going to have to hop on the ESPN trade machine? Which would be disgusting stuff, but I'll try and put this on the screen. We can look at some things here. Let me figure that out real quick. Let's do this. That's too big. Let's do this. All right. Sorry, I did not have this set up beforehand, but we are good to go. Let's just explore that. Orlando, we'll plug in here. They're right there. And we'll plug in Brooklyn. There we go. So let's say Anthony Simons to the Magic. They have to trade out about 18 mil. About 18 million. The problem is like, where do you get that 18 million from? Is it KCP? Are they willing to move off him? He hasn't had the best season, but he was a big free agent pickup. And the problem is, like, the Nets wouldn't want his salary. Why would they want his salary? So instead, you're looking at, Gary Harris probably. And then I don't even know why the Nets would factor in here unless they're getting second round picks for taking back, or maybe it's like Jet Howard. The Blazers don't want him and the Nets do, and the Magic are willing to give him up, but they're still short salary. So the justification for this type of trade doesn't really make sense unless it's Cole Anthony, and the Nets could want a point guard and value Cole Anthony. They don't have a point guard right now, basically. They have D'Angelo Russell. But I don't know why they value Cole Anthony. You would have to assume, like, all right, you got a second-round pick. That second-round pick's bad. It's Boston or Memphis, so let's go here. Just like this second to the Nets, this second, and then maybe this Denver first. Or maybe if you're Portland and you're lucky, you can get like a top 10 protected Orlando first. And then Portland gets back Ben Simmons contract, and then you also send like Thibault there. I just don't really understand, like, you'd have to really compensate the Nets, because why would they blow $30 million of cap's flexibility this offseason by taking on these contracts for these guys? None of them are impressive. And I don't think there's anybody that they particularly want on Portland that Portland would trade. I do think Simons to Orlando makes sense, and I think the two contracts coming back that makes the most sense are Cole Anthony and Gary Harris. But if you're Portland, you want to try and send those elsewhere for an expiring, it's just going to be tough. Like, I don't think these are players that teams will covet on these contracts. The simplest thing is you have KCP, and there's a contending team with the big expiring that would maybe trade it for KCP. So I don't know what that team is, but that is the simplest version of a Magic trade. The Magic have enough defense. I could see them maybe trading KCP. It's just that contract looks a little bloated right now. A little bit. Wendell Carter Jr. is recently signed an extension, so he's not tradable. That's the problem with him. So he's not even in the calculus, and he would make no sense for the Blazers. He's on a 5-year contract. Why would you want another center? Anthony says the Hawks send Capella to Portland to take on KCP. The Hawks don't need more wings, do they? I mean, I guess without Jalen Johnson for the year, you might want to slide DeAndre Hunter up to the 4. You got Dyson Daniels there as a 2, 3. Like, you can play some threes big enough. KCP could make sense there. So yeah, I'll actually show what that looks like. Without Jalen Johnson being hurt, I don't think that'd make any sense for the Hawks, but now that he's hurt, I do think that could make sense, and I wonder if there's a way to like wrap up Ayton. Let's just explore it, all right? So instead of the Nets, let's look at the Hawks. All right? So KCP, Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta would necessarily do this because they want off salary and Capella's expiring, so you're trading it for a 3-year contract, right? I think that's what would be the holdup and why the Hawks wouldn't do this trade. But let's just try and get creative here. The problem is they wouldn't really have salary they'd want to send back for Ayton unless it's Bogdanovich, and that contract makes no sense for the Blazers to take on. Like Nance and let's just say, is Cody Zeller really on a 3-year contract? That makes no sense. But, like, Nance is still way too short for Ayton, so you probably can't make anything work there. Maybe that's your Robert Williams destination then. So, yeah, let's try something like that. So, the Hawks trade Capella and Nance for Robert Williams III and KCP. What would they be willing to give up in that sort of trade? I don't know. They got Sacramento's pick protected 1-12. They have Lakers unprotected pick. Who knows where that's going to be now that they got Luka. I don't know if they'd be willing to give up a first-round pick with Capella and Nance. Nance has been decent this year. It would maybe be better if it wasn't Nance and it was like, I don't even know if this gets them there. Cody Zeller and Kobe Buffkin. Send Kobe Buffkin to the Magic. Because, yeah, that should still work for them. The problem is this does put the Hawks into the tax, but it does work financially. It's just they probably won't want to go into the tax. But, yeah, Capella, Cody Zeller, Kobe Buffkin for KCP and Robert Williams. Maybe they'd give something up there and then try and move Bogdanovich somehow to get under the tax. I don't really know. It's interesting. Substitute in different teams here for a third team to send KCP to if the Magic are willing to trade him for Ant. And then if you're Portland, you're probably just looking at this Denver first. If you're lucky, maybe you get the Orlando first because that's going to be better. So that's just a structure that you're looking at if it's the Magic, KCP to a third team. Did you watch the Wraith game winner? No, I have not. Multigun says so much for the narrative from you-know-who local media members that nothing was going to happen this trade season, all to defend Cronin sitting on his hands as usual. Has our local media really been saying that nothing was going to happen across the league this deadline? Is that really the narrative? I mean, how much are we going to get wrong here before people stop listening? It's just silly. You always have crazy stuff happen. Almost every year there's something that comes out of nowhere. Like, you should be prepared for that. So, I already have 4 former All-Stars. Yeah, no. I mean, there is absolutely no logical excuse to excuse Cronin for doing nothing, okay? If he can't do anything, that's still not an excuse because he put himself in this position where he can't do anything. I know people want to defend Cronin and strip him of all capability and responsibility, but every player on this team either had their current contract given to them by Joe Cronin or were brought onto this team by Joe Cronin. It's no longer Olshay's mess. He is responsible for the exact position this team is in. So yeah, there will absolutely be no excuse for Joe. But people will try to. People will try to, especially the first name. Especially the first name there. All right, 43% of people graded a B for the Kings. I graded a C. I feel like they didn't get back enough. Maybe a C-. I feel like they just got shortchanged a little bit. 5 second-round picks. All right, that's the GP2 package. Who cares? You got back 2 firsts, and... Oh, you got back Zach Lavine. Okay, yeah, I graded a B. I was like completely forgetting about Lavine. I was thinking about it from the Spurs or the Bulls point of view. I don't know. It's been a long weekend. Yeah, I'll grade it a B. I'll go with that. Yeah, Lavine and 2 firsts for Fox is legit. It's legit. But Lavine was only worth 1 first. At the end of the day, was 3 firsts for Fox good enough? I mean, you got a couple. The Spurs first in 2027 is going to be late. The Minnesota one in 2031 could be really good. I don't know. B minus. Maybe C plus. I would rather go the rebuild route if I was the Kings. I would have traded him for as many picks as possible. I would have traded Sabonis for as many picks as possible. That team is not going to win a playoff series until they rebuild again. I fully believe that. They are not going to win a single playoff series until they go through another rebuild and completely revamp their team. I don't think they'll ever win a playoff series with Domantas Sabonis on the roster. So why still try and get a player like Zach Lavine? Why are you still trying to be competitive? You're not even competitive, and you just got worse. Neither are the Spurs. Neither are the Spurs what? Gonna win a playoff series? Maybe not this year, but they are gonna win many playoff series with Victor Wembanyama. The Kings, I just don't know where they're headed. So yeah, I give it a C plus. That's where I'm gonna land there. Now we get to grade it for the Bulls. The Spurs are still playing. I'm not talking about just this year, Mike. I'm not talking about just this year. I'm talking about overall. The Spurs are headed towards many playoff series wins with De'Aaron Fox on the roster. That's where they're headed. Where are the Kings headed in the next 3-4 years? How are they going to actually build a team that can win a playoff series, let alone contend? Multigun says at least the Kings got some actual picks, though, unlike Cronin, our asset cupboard is so empty. Yeah, at least they got a couple first. They're going to have to get lucky and like have a perfect star fall into their lap. Windhorse says Jimmy Butler unwilling to sign extension with the Warriors trade. Talks have ended for now. The Warriors were willing to give him an extension and he turned it down? That makes no sense to me because I don't think he's going to be able to get an extension from anywhere else. The Jimmy Butler stuff does not make sense to me then. The Kings could be the type of team to trade for Jimmy Butler. DeRozan plus pieces plus like 1 pick. Because here, you know what? That is actually quite interesting. That is actually quite interesting. They don't even have the other salary on here, but let's just say like DeRozan. They already traded Herter. You got Lyles. Jimmy Butler to the Kings. They're still short. Where does that other salary come from? Because it'd have to be Monk. It's not really worth it. Would the Heat do this without getting a pick back? Because they want players. They want players. That's why I think this is interesting. Like, the Heat would be the type of team to value getting back a DeMar DeRozan, I feel like. He can kind of do some of the same things as Jimmy, same age, but on a better contract. Without all the drama. And Jimmy gives the Kings more upside than DeRozan does, where maybe they might be able to win a playoff series if Jimmy goes into playoff Jimmy Butler mode. Just trading Monk is kind of rough. But then you do have, in this trade, Zach Lavine, Jimmy Butler, helps him out defensively. Keegan Murray still, Sabonis. You would try and find a point guard. I don't know who the point guard is. depending on the cap after. Let me actually plug this trade into like the 4-team trade. Bulls, Spurs. All right, so we got Lavine to the Kings. We had Fox to the Spurs. We had McLaughlin to the Spurs. The Spurs trade Zach Collins to the Bulls. Trey Jones to the Bulls. This puts the Kings into the tax. I don't think they'd want to go into the tax. And they're trading out 5 players for 2, so they'd have to sign some players. It would... Oh, no, they're trading Herder. Herder to the Bulls, right? Yeah, Herder to the Bulls. Take out Monk. And then maybe throw in... I don't know, you could take out Lyles and throw in Monk. And then they're saving $3 million, right? So they could do Monk and DeRozan for Jimmy Butler, basically. Yeah, they could do Monk and DeRozan for Jimmy Butler. It would work under the CBA as like a separate trade. And then they still have $3 million below the tax. They'd still have Trey Lyles' contract to try and get a point guard with. So you trade Trey Lyles, maybe an asset for a point guard. You got Devin Carter off the bench. So you got your new point guard, Lavine, Butler, Keegan Murray, Sabonis, Devin Carter off the bench, Keon Ellis off the bench. You don't got front court depth, but whatever. Would that team have a chance at making any noise? I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. They could be a sneaky Jimmy Butler landing spot if they're willing to pay Jimmy Butler. I mean, the Kings, like, who knows what direction they're in. I'm missing City. He's like $2 million. It doesn't really make a difference. Sissoko to the Spurs? No, Sissoko is traded from the Spurs. They should sign Skylar Mays for their point guard. What are we going to get from Houston for Williams III? The rumor would be second-round picks. We love some second-round picks. So the Kings gave San Antonio a swap in 2031. Wow. This trade just got worse for the Kings. The Kings gave... I forgot about this. Eric talks about this all the time. The Kings gave San Antonio the rights to swap first-round picks in 2031 to get off Harrison Barnes, and they did not get those swap rights back in this trade. They just got the 2031 Minnesota first. Charlotte's 2025 first just becomes 2 second-round picks. How do you not get your swap back then? The Kings could be really bad in 2031, assuming they still try and be competitive the next 3 years, crash out, and then start a rebuild. I think that's an L. Let's grade it for the Bulls. I'm going to do A. I'm going to do, the first option is going to be A/B. We're going to do a C, a D, and an F. Because I think it will be more negative. The Spurs have Atlanta's 2025 unprotected too, and Sacramento didn't make them give them any of this good stuff. Yeah, how do you not... I mean, here's the problem. If If San Antonio was playing hardball, like, we'll just sign him in 2026, you just remind him about what happened with Donovan Mitchell. Everybody thought he was going to go to the Knicks. Now look at him. Surprise trade to the Cavs. Now look at the Cavs, right? You should have held off for a good pick this year. Why was it Charlotte's 2025 first? Aaron, do not post fake trades, bro. Do not post fake trades. I'll show it. Don't post fake trades. We will time you out for entire streams if you post fake trades. Jackson, I just showed it. 33% of you would give it an A/a B? Nah. I give it a D. They could have tanked and kept their picks the next 3 years. They're entering a rebuild anyway. They should be picking in the top 8 the next 3 years. Their first just becomes seconds. They got back basically 2 seconds and filler salaries for somebody who's playing close to an all-star level this year. I give it a D. Frankly, almost give it an F. But Zach Lavine, for some reason, doesn't have much trade value. For those of you that expect a good trade package back for Anthony Simons, I mean, just look at what Zach Lavine just got traded for. Now, luckily, Anthony Simons makes less money. I do like that they got their pick back. I just feel like it should have been more. Levine's contract was so bad. I don't think his contract was bad, man. This year, I think he was living up to his contract. Maybe I'm just overrating Zach Lavine this year. Let me pull up his stats at least. So this year, averaging 24 points per game, 5 boards, 4.5 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 45% from 3 in 34 minutes a game. True shooting percentage of 64%. That's really good. That is really good. I missed it. What was the fake trade? Shaden to the Lakers. He's playing well now, but the contract wasn't good. Same with Grant. I mean, I think Levine's contract is better than Grant's contract. Less years on it, and he's much better right now than Jeremy Grant, and he's making $13 million more. But yeah, they got their pick back, so maybe it could have fallen to 11th, but they're 9th right now. They're 9th. Philadelphia is a little worse than them. You would think if Chicago tanks the rest of the year, they're going to pass Philadelphia. They're going to be 8th, and their pick was top 10 protected. The chance of it falling from 8th all the way down to 11, minuscule. And if they're entering a rebuild the following 2 years when it's top 8 protected, probably would have been picking in the top 8. So I don't think they needed to be that desperate to get their first-round pick back. I don't know, man. I assume the market was just that dry for Lavine, so I guess nothing else they could do, so giving them a bad grade isn't necessarily fair, but it just feels like they didn't really get anything back. Brian Knight, the Spurs GM, may challenge Sam Presti for the best GM in the league. How? He got gifted. I mean, he negotiated the hell out of this trade, I guess. So, but I don't think it's Presti level yet. He got gifted Wembanyama. He did get a swap right with Sacramento for taking on Harrison Barnes. I guess that was a win. Yeah, I mean he's a good GM. He's a good GM. Windhorse tweet. From 14 minutes ago that we were already talking about? It's a salary dump. That Lavine contract just seems too big for most teams' palace this season. Yeah, you're probably right. I'm probably being too harsh. I'll go with the C. I'll go with the C. That's an average grade. Kind of feel for Lavine. Minnesota, Chicago, and now Sacramento. Yeah, Minnesota when they were still really bad. Then Chicago for Jimmy Butler, and now Sacramento. And maybe now he unites with Jimmy Butler. Rate the Jazz trade. They got Hood Schifino in seconds, and that was it. And they got like a second for Drew Eubanks. So, I mean, that's decent. Look at their flexibility just for taking on Hood Schifino and then like taking on PJ Tucker's expiring contract and trading Drew freaking Eubanks. They got probably as many seconds as we'll be able to get back for Robert Williams III. Yeah, I hope we get a couple more rumors to talk about on this live stream. I do want to look at something though. Let me find something real quick. Just give me a second. Dang, they don't have the odds. Or I just can't find them. Take a look at BetUS. They got a bunch of Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic props available right now. Also, will Jimmy Butler get traded before the deadline is over? Plus 425 say for no, minus 800 for yes. So the assumption is still that Jimmy Butler is absolutely getting traded before the deadline. But if you think he's not, you can get pretty good odds plus 425 over on BetUS. This stream is brought to you by BetUS. You can get in on these odds if you like any of them. Have some fun with these. How will Kevin Durant scores 30,000th career points? Different options there. But I assume tomorrow they'll have odds up for Jimmy Butler's next team. They've had those odds up periodically, and that's what I wanted to look at. But I think with the trades that happened in the past 24 hours, that's why the odds are down, because that changes a lot. So you can check out BetUS. You can check out those odds. You can use promo code YouTube150, and it gives you a promotion. The promotion is 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two deposits, up to $2,000. Shout out to them for sponsoring the live stream. All right, we're going to end the poll 32%, 33% say C. Anthony says the Jazz are a good example of why the Blazers should get rid of big contracts so we can get second rounders for facilitating trades and taking on bad money. I mean, the hope would be to get first rounders or first round pick swap rights like the Spurs were able to get for taking on Harrison Barnes. We should have been able to get the right to swap first with a team in 2031 for the right to take on a Harrison Barnes type of guy. Suns can't pay Jimmy, he won't go. That's not true. They can pay Jimmy, but they have to trade Beal to get Jimmy, and it sounds like Beal won't waive his no-trade clause. Where's the bearded guy that is usually with Tori? You mean Eric? Eric was eating dinner when this trade broke. He said he might hop on later, but I don't know how much later is. Does Nurk have anything left in the tank? I don't know, man. He's declining. Butler really forcing a trade to the Suns. I mean, here's the thing. If he's like, I only want to trade to the Suns, And the Suns are like, yeah, we want you too. And the Heat are like, fine, we'll take back anything. But then Bradley Beal is sitting there saying, nah, I'm not going to waive my no trade clause. Nothing can happen. So then what? What do the Heat do? What does Jimmy do? Like, how does that end? Which is fascinating. Like, Bradley Beal can hold the Suns hostage. He can hold the Suns hostage. In my opinion, no trade clause should not be valid after the first trade. I mean, why? Like, why? That would allow a team to, like, just immediately flip him and kind of defeat the purpose of a no trade clause. Jimmy will end up on the Hornets or something like that. I mean, I do think the Kings could be a team for Jimmy. I don't know if you'd want to go there. I don't think Bradley Beal should have ever been given a no-trade clause. Blame the Wizards for that, man. That's why they got nothing back from him. The only reason Beal is on the Suns right now is because he had a no-trade clause and wanted to go to the Suns. So the only reason the Suns were able to get him is the same reason why they cannot get Jimmy Butler. Unless he waives it, of course. So it's funny how things play out there. Is there any route for Jimmy to go to Dallas? Yeah, that's something I was thinking about that I want to explore. Thanks for reminding me. I appreciate it. I'll toss it up on the trade machine. I mean, Dallas wants defense, right? So they want players that are have an edge to them that aren't chubby and lazy like Luka, apparently. The problem is they got to trade out, assuming they're trying to stay out of the tax, they got to trade out like 49 mil. So you're looking at like what? PJ, Clay. I mean, they have to trade out Najee Marshall. Unless they trade Gafford. I get, like, it'd probably have to be Gafford. It's just, all right, so you got Lively, who's hurt right now, and you got Anthony Davis, and then you have no big depth. Dwight Powell, I guess. Because if you look at this, right, outgoing 31 mil, incoming 49 mil, they're 18 mil short. Max Christie, they recently traded for. They can't use him to match salary. The thing is if they can match salary, they could lump him in. It's just kind of weird. So does this match salary? No, they're past the first apron. So trading out Christie would keep them from going past the first apron. Yeah, I don't know. It'd probably just have to be Gafford. That's the more simple thing. So Gafford, and then you could toss on like Dante Exum. You wouldn't have to. But I just don't know if they're trying to stay out of the tax or not. So like this would technically work if you gave up a first. Because you'd probably take a first, and the Heat want players. So if you want to make Bam a full-time four, you got Chloe Ware and Daniel Gafford as your centers. You got PJ Washington. I feel like they would maybe try and flip Gafford to a third team for something. You bring in Clay. That's a player, right? It's just you're gutting your big men depth. You would only have Anthony Davis would be your only healthy big man. So, yeah, I don't really like it for the Mavs. Although Jimmy can play some 4. You could get away with Jimmy at some 4. You could get away with Najee Marshall at some 4. It's just until Lively is back, you have to play AD at the 5, and he does not want to play the 5. So it's just tricky. A tricky trade for the Mavs to pull off and make things work after that. Why in the world did Butler tell Golden State he wouldn't extend with them? I have no idea, man. I don't understand. I don't understand why not. The whole thought is he wants to get paid. So I don't know why he turned it down. Blazers value Kamara second only to Sharp. I don't think they necessarily value Kamara more than Avdia. Also, I don't think they should value Kamara or Sharp or Avdia more than Scoot. So I honestly think Scoot is a little better than Sharp right now. On the season, Scoot has been more efficient than Sharp this year. And has been a better three-point shooter than Sharp this year. And is a better passer than Sharp has been this year. And has been a better defender than Sharp has been this year. Sharp, it's all the upside and the idea of him being a 27-point-per-game guy. Maybe he gets there, but I don't know. I just feel like all the love's for Sharp. I think Scoot should be held in the same regard as Sharp in terms of prospects. Anthony, stop trolling. Stop trolling, man. Never, ever, ever. Lakers need to call for Sabonis, Rui, Gabe, Maxi Kleba money match. They got one first. Like, why would the Kings... I mean, here's the problem, is now Laker fans are going to expect the most insane stuff, and we can't even say no because they got Luka. But yeah, I don't think the Kings would want to trade Sabonis for a singular first and crappy contracts. Also, Maxi Kleba cannot be used to match Sabonis because he's recently traded for. So he can't be used to aggregate. Tori, you should invite Eric Brandt. I did. I said, I'm probably going to end it soon, like 20, 30 minutes, but so hop on now if you want to. He said, if you're going to end it soon, I'll just not come on. Man. I'm trying, guys. He's in the live chat. I'm trying. Would love to get Eric on here, but he's a family man. It's Sunday evening. It's all good. Lakers will get Nick Claxton, book it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do like that for them. Although I think Claxton is slightly overrated. His defense doesn't seem to be at the same level. But would they have to give up the 2031 first? I don't know. Because I think the Nets might just want out of his contract, given that Claxton has not looked as good this year as he did last year or the year before. Tell me you're not going to end it soon then. Yeah, I'm going to end it in 4 hours, Eric. We're going to go till 11. I think he's camera shy. Yeah, that's probably what it is, man. It's probably what it is. Sacramento did not get enough for Fox. Sad. Yeah, it kind of feels that way. Will you come back if there's a 3 a.m. sham blast? The only way I'd come back if there's a 3 a.m. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to be up at 3 a.m. So, would you trade Grant for LeVert and Okoro? I mean, Why would the Cavs? Levert is better than Grant right now. So, like, yeah, because you could probably flip Levert for something. Levert this year, in 24 minutes a game, 11 points, 4 assists, 3 boards, but he's shooting 47% from the field, 42% from 3. Per 36, 16 points, over 5 assists, over 4 boards. True shooting percentage, 60%. Grant scores a little bit more on much worse efficiency this season. Doesn't rebound as well, doesn't pass as well, doesn't play make as well, doesn't handle the ball as well. Would you trade Grant for Middleton straight up? Honestly, if you couldn't get back anything better, probably. Just because Middleton is an expiring contract this offseason, I have legitimate worries that if the Blazers can't get off Grant now, they're going to be stuck with him for the entirety of his contract. They're going to have to give up serious assets to get off of him. At least with Chris Middleton, he's an expiring contract, much easier to lump into trades. Yeah, if it came down to 2 minutes before the deadline, and that was my last option, yeah, I'd trade Jeremy Grant straight up for Chris Middleton. Eric, just come on or not, bro. I'd rather have Middleton than Grant because he's less ball dominant, more shots for the younger guys, and shorter contractors is better. Yeah, I think Middleton would fit in better, and you would try and rehabilitate his value. I don't know if Eric's saying that makes me not want to come on in reference to my answer about the Grant and Middleton trade or what, but I would take it if that's the last move. I don't know. I think Eric would take it, so I don't know what he's responding to then. Eric playing hard to get. He likes to be romanced a bit, wined and dined. That's funny. Doesn't Middleton have a player option? Yeah, for next season. And then that's his last season. Unless Fanspo's lying to me. Fanspo lied to me last night, said the Luka trade didn't even work. Yeah, Middleton has a player option for next year. He's going to take it because he's not going to make as much. So, yeah, he basically has 2 years left. Having Grant on the team isn't bad because he a few and our team is so young. Yeah, his contract is spendy. I don't know what you mean, Eric, by he a few. It would be nice to have flexibility to accumulate assets. And not feel like we have to start Grant and therefore bring Scoot off the bench. Because when Grant's out, Scoot starts. We can embrace cheaper veterans that don't have to play 30 minutes a game and start ahead of younger players. Like, that's the type of veterans we need. Not overpaid guys that take minutes away from the young guys we're trying to develop. Jackson says, I mean, it didn't, but it went through because the Morris brother was absorbed through an exception. Yeah, that was the problem, is I was looking at it, and I wasn't putting the trade through. I was just looking at the incoming versus outgoing salary and saying it didn't work, so, yeah. Anthony says, Eric, I will send $5 to the stream if you join. Look at these people, Eric. They are begging you to join the stream. Willing to donate for you to join the stream. Peer pressure. We support peer pressure. I will allow all the peer pressuring that you guys want to provide to Eric. Dump Simons if you want to start Scoot, in my opinion. I mean, but without Grant, you got Scoot starting. Like, Grant's contract is becoming worse by the day, it feels like. You got to get off of it as early as possible. I did a video. Let me see if I can find it, actually. Because I included a graph. And it was funny because it was like it's kind of silly, but it explains why they should have traded him sooner. So I'll see if I can find it. Maybe I didn't even drop the video. I need to drop more videos, man. I just don't have the time like I used to, which makes me kind of sad. But basically, it was like the Blazers need to... Oh, yeah, the Blazers must trade Jeremy Grant was the video. So let me find the graphic that I used. I'll try and put it up on the screen. At least I think I put a graphic in that. Oh, yeah. This was interesting. So... I need... Oh, there it is. Chat, you guys got your wish. Successful peer pressuring has brought Eric Brandt to the live stream. Peer pressuring works, and this is proof. This is proof, Eric.
Yes, it is. Wait, let me get my... There we go.
Yeah. There we go. I'm going back. I'm snipping a graphic that I had from why the Blazers should trade Grant. It's like a very simple illustration, but I think you'll appreciate it. While I do that, what are your thoughts on this move? This three-team banger?
First of all, I promised my family I'd only be on for like 5 minutes, and then I promised them I'd go get ice cream with them. So
yeah,
I have to go in a few minutes.
All
Sorry,
right.
guys.
Take up as much of the mic as you want then.
So I guess I like it for the Spurs. Pairing Fox with Wemby, it's a pretty good move. I don't feel like they gave up a ton to do it either. I mean, 4 firsts seems like a lot, but it's not really. 4 firsts, like, it's basically 2 firsts and maybe like 1 first in Dillingham, basically. Yeah. I don't really like the Kings valuing getting a player back like Lavine over just more assets. I would have rather just taken the crap from the Spurs and gotten another first. And then the Bulls got their first back. And,
yeah, we were talking about that recently.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice if we did something similar, right? Is it just an extra little bonus in a trade or something? But
you know what? If the Bulls value getting back your own first round pick that much, that's all they cared about in the Lavine trade, then that probably means that they think we should give up a lot for our own first back, right?
Well, it depends on what they ultimately thought Lavine's value was.
Yeah.
Because Lavine isn't I mean, his contract isn't very good, and he's been injury prone and all that kind of stuff, so I don't know if they were just looking to dump him or whatnot, but I don't know, does Trey and Zach still have 2 years each left on their deal?
Let me look at it real quick. Shout out to Anthony while I look at this. He says, I'm a man of my word. Thanks, Eric. You're the best. He said that with a $5 donation. Thank you, Anthony. Even though he called you the bearded guy earlier.
Wow.
Which is funny.
The bearded guy, okay.
Yeah.
I trim
Although
it.
we're both bearded. So Zach Collins has 2
Yeah.
years left. Trey Jones has only 1.
Okay. After this one?
No, he's an expiring.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we gonna trade for Zach now?
Ayton for Zach. Well, Zach doesn't match Ayton.
They can't aggregate. Yeah.
Yeah. But like
Unless it
Vucevic
hasn't
to
been
a third
finalized.
team, and then like Vucevic plus like a small contract matches Ayton, and then Collins matches back what they get from that third team. You could work something into that, man. Blazers want to keep Ayton now, though. He tried for 3 games. Is anything changing there? Like, is it just like we don't expect much? I said this. Let me know if you disagree before you leave. I think they'll trade Robert Williams III. I think Jeremy Grant is like the wild card, kind of 50-50. Anthony Simons, maybe like a 20-25% chance they trade him. And then they're keeping Ayton. Is that how you would basically summarize the chances of certain things happening?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think the Ayton thing is because they're like, oh, we have to keep him now, though. I think it's just because they just don't see the value in dumping him. And I mean, we've talked at length on how that's kind of short-sighted and ruining the opportunity cost of what you could do this summer by getting rid of that contract. But yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like we've talked about this a lot where the market kind of dried up for people, on Blazer assets, but now it feels like the market's almost like shaping up perfectly for the Blazers if they with a team like LA desperately needing big man depth right now.
Yeah.
I still don't think they give up a 2031 first for any player we could trade them.
But like,
Maybe.
would they be willing to trade like Austin Reeves to a third team with some
Yeah.
filler salary for both Ayton and Grant? Because they kind of need 2 centers now,
Ayton and Rob Williams.
or Ayton and Rob Williams. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they don't have much depth on the wing either when you look at their roster now.
Yeah, the roster's weird. They're definitely not done.
Yeah. Could you maybe get Connect? Would you still want Connect still?
Yeah, man. I mean, we need shooting. We're still the third worst 3-point shooting team in the league.
Could you maybe get Connect for like Robwell and Jeremy, like and then take on the crappy contracts? Would you do that without the first?
I'm just so enamored with flexibility, and Connect's defense has been really bad this year, so it's like, I don't know. It's tough. If that's the last deal on the table and that's like we have to take that, then I would take that. You know what I mean? Because it helps you move forward.
Yeah.
Would you take Middleton straight up for Grant if that was like the last deal on the table, like right at the deadline, and that was your only option to get off Grant? Would you take that?
Probably not, because I mean he's expiring next year, right? Middleton.
Yeah.
So you do save a few years, but it doesn't really help us this summer clear anything. So
Yeah, but it's much easier to trade his contract this summer if you're trying to make moves or whatever, and it's easier because you get off it sooner. I feel like if you keep Grant in the next year, you're running into the scenario where his contract is becoming so bad, like you might get stuck with it for 4 years. So at least Middleton and Ayton would come off the books next offseason, then you'd have all this flexibility. When Sharp's a restricted free agent, you'd have his cap hold or whatever, unless they came to an extension before, so you'd have flexibility at least then. And like Middleton, I think, kind of fits the team better. They wouldn't be as obligated to start him if they ever played him, and he could maybe rehabilitate some value going into this offseason or next year. I don't know.
yeah, I think he's just kind of cooked at this point. But I mean, I wouldn't.
Because if that's the last deal on the table, then you're probably like, that means you aren't getting any offers better for Jeremy Grant. So at that point, it's like, man, we really might be stuck with them. Let's just take the out that is Chris Middleton, who will become expiring next year.
I would hope at that point that Jeremy, and that's what I was talking about with the trade market shaping up. Like, do they get desperate enough to offer that first? Because they also have a 2031 first. Like, if we traded them both, Jeremy and Rob Will,
Yeah.
would they be willing to do that?
Yeah. Well, would they rather trade Portis or Brook Lopez in your mind if they're getting back Rob Will?
I still think the way he's played this year, they'd rather trade Portis.
Yeah. If they trade Brook, they can take back another piece though from somewhere.
Yeah,
So
Thibault.
Thibault, there you go. Yeah, Thibault and Rob Will. Oh, that barely doesn't work.
Well, what if they trade like Connaughton to the
Yeah,
Pistons?
Connaughton. Yeah, they have tradable salaries, so they could make that work if they traded Connaughton, I think, because they would duck the. I don't know, actually. No, they wouldn't duck the first apron. I don't think that would work either. Because Connaughton doesn't match anyone, and it's like. Oh, no, they duck the second apron. Yeah, that would work. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple aprons making it confusing. Anyway, I don't want to keep you longer.
Oh, no, it's not.
Your family wants some ice cream, so can't take that away from them. That would be an awful thing for me to do. So
It's all good. Well, nice to see everyone for a minute. Good stream, Tori. Sorry I couldn't be on the whole thing. But yeah, we got be streaming twice tomorrow, right? Well, at least you will be.
yeah, I'll be streaming 3 times tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
I'll be on Gabe's stream.
Yeah.
I'll be on the. We'll have a stream on our second channel. There's a link description. It's called Blazers Uprise Podcast. We do Blazers Uprise live over there during the season. We do picks against the spread, and we'll talk about any more rumors, and then we'll go live on the main channel. If there's like a trade in the afternoon tomorrow, we might do Blazers Uprise live on the main channel instead and talk about the trade. Like, so just stay in tune, man. We're gonna be streaming probably every day this week. So, other than Friday. So
Yeah. Fun week. You gotta
Wait, do we
save your voice. No, we have a game Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have back-to-back Monday,
Yeah, so
Tuesday,
lots of
and then
streams.
Wednesday night. Yeah.
We got you covered. Yeah, I gotta save my voice. I need throat lozenges or something. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for hopping on.
All right, love you guys. Bye. Have a good night.
See you later. You too. Enjoy the ice cream. All right, so I want to show this. Okay. So this is why I said the Blazers should have traded Jeremy Grant last year. All right. Does this make sense? It seems like a lot of people that think we should keep Grant don't really understand this. Okay. So the value of picks in young players, like of course if you draft somebody high and they're a bust, right, their value doesn't stay at 100%. But just in terms of like average value, if you draft a young player or you get a draft pick, that's not going to lose value over the next 3 years on average, right? Because it's a draft pick or a young player. Whereas Jeremy Grant, 29, 30 years old now, his value is just going to decline. His play is just going to decline. By the time the Blazers window starts, Jeremy Grant's value is going to be much lower, right? Like his playing ability, I expect him to be a worse player in 2026, 2027, or 2027, 2028 seasons than he is now. Whereas if you have a draft pick that's a 2029 first in 2027, that's still a future first. Might be better or worse depending on what team it's from and their situation, but, it's still a future first. Whereas if you get a young player that fits your team, right, they could be coming into their own by then or developing. So it makes sense to trade Grant at peak value. Peak value was last year. They didn't trade him at peak value. The funny thing is this graph slowly goes down, but this year his play is a bigger dip than this graph shows. Right? So his value has already dropped more than even I expected this year, in my opinion. This is why you got to trade Grant. And it also comes with the issue of, like, he was starting in front of Denny, and now they're starting Denny and bringing Scoot off the bench when he was breaking out. When Grant's injured, they start Scoot. When he's not, they bring Scoot off the bench, even though he's playing really well. It's just a mess. So this is the whole thing about picking a direction. The direction is you're building for that window that starts, in my opinion, in the 2026-2027 season. Okay? Maybe the season after it, right? This window should stretch maybe a decade. I don't know how long. Okay? You want to maximize your chance to win a championship at some point in that window. It might not even be in 2027 or 2028. It might be in 2030, right? Jeremy Grant's probably going to be out of the league in 2030. So, what are you doing to maximize that window? That's just a simple graph that goes behind the thought of trading Jeremy Grant. Okay? Why keep Time Lord and Thibault? There's no reason to. What if Grant is still good in 3 years and the NBA salary cap keeps going up? It could happen. I mean, what are you going to get? A first-round pick? You could have gotten a first-round pick last offseason. Spin says, Sean Hyken on his latest article said the Blazers are trading either Simons or Grant in the next 4 days. I hope he's right. Listen, man, I hope he's right. I hope we finally have a reporter that's given us good intel. Because I would love for that to be true. And he's credentialed, so I hope. Tori, when will you get media credentials? Probably when there's a new ownership in GM. Given how much I've criticized this current organization, it's probably a hopeless cause. But listen, man, I'll just say this. If I was rich, if I had a lot of money, I would run this platform at a loss. Just as a passion project. Like, I would try and get media credentials, try and hire somebody to be there at practices, do all this stuff. Like, I'd hire editors. You'd have a video every day. Like, we'd do so much with this channel if it was feasible monetarily. But we're getting there. We're building. I'm working on it. The thing is, if we had credentials, I'd probably want to hire someone instead of, like, being in there myself. I don't really need to be in there myself. It'd be cool, but that's the dream. One day we'll make it in there. Hutbomb says after the way Simonson has been shooting over the last month, there's got to be teams calling about him for a trade. I hope. I mean, we knew he was slumping to start the year, so it shouldn't have really cratered his value necessarily. It's not like he's Jeremy Grant, who's on the wrong side of 30. Simons is still 25, so it's not like he's declining due to age. Orlando, I think, makes a ton of sense for him. I just think Anthony Simons is still going to be here and Grant's going to be the one traded, but I think Simons probably has a little bit more value right now. On the Locked On Mavericks podcast, the number one prediction for players acquired at the deadline was Thibault. Yeah, I wonder where Anthony Davis ranked on that list. The thing is, they don't have like a expiring contract to match him with. I would trade Thibault for an expiring, straight up. But they don't really have one. Would the Mavs be dumb enough to trade like PJ Washington for Matisse Thybulle? Or Daniel Gafford for Matisse Thybulle? You flip one of those to a third team. I don't know. I mean, the Mavs, I'm. You know what's funny is after the Luka trade, now I look at the Mavs as like, they're one of those dumb front offices that, like, maybe they do something dumb like this. You know? Like, there's always these teams where it's like, I don't think this is a good trade for them at all, but maybe, given how incompetent they've been on other moves, maybe they would do this trade. The Bulls are like one of those teams. Like, maybe the Bulls are that team that's silly enough to trade for DeAndre Ayton. Because look at some of the stuff that they've done before. The Mavs, after trading Luka, now I've realized I'm looking at them as one of those teams. I do have a feeling Jeremy Grant is the more likely to get traded between Simons and him, though. I don't know what to expect. I would really like if one of those guys gets traded. If they don't trade Jeremy Grant, I think it's not because they want to keep him. It's because they can't get anything worthwhile back for him. Oh man, I just want to see something happen. All right. I'll answer your questions for about 5-10 minutes. I'll send 10 if Eric rejoins in the next 30 minutes. He's going to get ice cream with his family. He's not home. He promised them. So once again, we'll be live streaming on trade deadline morning, February 6th. We'll be live streaming Wednesday night as well to preview everything. Where's he going for ice cream? I don't know. I just talked to him on the stream. I'm not going to dox Eric's location. Get him in trouble. How do you even get credentials? You just email and ask for them, basically. Which I tried to do this year. Tori, if the Blazers started a winning streak, how long would you go before you start pulling players for the tank? I mean, I don't know if a tank's in the cards. It's tough, man. I want to see who's on this team first before I start talking about like what's next after the deadline, because I don't know if they're going to tank. I don't know what they're going to do. Should we tank again? We just need a coach. I mean, they might resign Chauncey. I have no idea what this organization is going to do in the next year. No clue. I feel like anybody that says they have a good feeling for what this organization is going to do is lying to you. I don't think the Blazers know exactly what they want to do. I think they give Chauncey one more year if we keep playing fun basketball. That's how I feel. I feel like Chauncey is saving his job right now. We just need to remove the vets so Chauncey doesn't have Grant or Simons to block Scoot from starting. If Chauncey has vets, he will start them no matter what. Yeah, I mean, the simplest thing is you trade Grant and you trade Simons. So then you start Scoot, Sharp, Kamara, Avdia, and preferably Klingon, but probably DA. And then you go into next year, DA is an expiring contract. That's when you move him. And you, attach them to something better. But the thing is people look at the Avdia trade and it's like, oh, yeah, maybe that's what they'll try and do with DA's contract like they did with Brogdon. But it's like, it's going to be hard to get a better forward than DA or Tamani. You got your two guards. You got Klingon as your center. Like, unless you went for an all-star center, like, maybe it's Domantas Sabonis. It's just like, why are you giving up? You don't even have that many firsts out of this rebuild anyway, so, like, why would you give up first and DA for Sabonis and lock yourself into that roster? Like, is it good enough to ever contend? That's kind of like going all in really early, so. Would you think they'd take another year if we land Flag? I mean, I think they would be good enough to maybe make the play-in next year if they got Flag. Tori, can you ask Eric to host a meetup sometime? Then we can all join in for ice cream in Hillsborough, and he can buy it for us. I don't think Eric's going to be buying all of you ice cream. I'm sorry. Eric's doxing himself. Do you include Tamani Kamara in a trade that brings back an unprotected 2031 pick from Milwaukee? No. No, because if they're that bad, we'll cash in with those first anyway before then that we already have from them. And if they're not that bad, then it's a bad trade. All right. So I'm just seeing if there's any other rumors worth talking about. I don't think there's really anything right now, so probably going to end the stream. We'll be live tomorrow on the second channel. Then I'll be live on Suns Valley Podcast. Then we'll be live with the post-game show. We'll talk about the latest rumors. So it'll be a stream like this. We'll have Eric there. All that good stuff. I'm not going for a blizzard. I'm trying to keep my calories low and eat healthy and diet and get in better shape. So, yeah, we'll be live tomorrow. I'll be live like pretty much 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific, and then 7 to 9:30 p.m. on Suns Valley Podcast channel, and then 9:30 to 11:30, maybe midnight on the post game. So lots of stream tomorrow. And then Tuesday we have another game back to back, so we'll have that post game. Join our Discord. We tag everybody in there when we go live and when we drop anything. Shout out to Scrunt, who gave a Blazers Uprise membership, gifted one. I did not see that earlier. My apologies. I don't know who got it, but appreciate you. Always love the gifted memberships. Leave a like on the stream. It helps us out. Let's get to 100. And subscribe if you're new. Show up on Thursday morning for the trade deadline live stream. Show up Wednesday night for the live stream. We'll be live streaming every evening from here through Thursday. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here. Shout out to BetUS once again. If you want to get in on trade deadline action, BetUS normally will toss up players' next teams, and you can bet on that if you're into that sort of thing. You can bet on spread lines as well. Just make sure to use that promo code YouTube150 for that 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. And then those two 125% bonuses on your next two deposits, up to $2,000. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the stream. I just spilled my drink. Brutal way to end the stream. But didn't spill that bad. I don't know if you guys heard that. Anyway, we're out of here. We are out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night, a good rest of your weekend. If there's another crazy thing that happens tonight, you know, I'll probably go live again, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll go live a lot. So, out of here. Catch you guys. See you later. Peace out. Go Blazers.